The ability to speak to Allah is a gift unlike any other, a privilege so intimate and immediate that it is easy to take for granted. In this life, the believer can turn directly to the Creator, unmediated and unbound, expressing hope, fear, gratitude, or longing. Yet this privilege is fleeting. Once the soul departs, the freedom to converse openly, to plead in question, to pour the heart out in dua, is no longer granted. Life is a temporary sanctuary of closeness, a window in which the servant may reach Allah with words, silence, or tears. The Quran reminds us of this sacred opportunity. Call upon me, I will respond to you. Surah Ghafir 40:60. This is not a distant promise. It is a living invitation. Every moment in which a believer speaks to Allah carries a weight of intimacy and trust. Yet so often this treasure is neglected. Routine, distraction, and worldly preoccupations dim awareness of the immediacy of divine listening. Many assume that tomorrow will always come, that time will always be sufficient, that the heart can postpone remembrance without consequence. But life itself is uncertain. The door may close without warning. Recognizing this urgency transforms the relationship with Allah. Supplication becomes more than request. It becomes conversation. Complaint, sorrow, and longing are not signs of weakness, but expressions of connection. The believer learns to approach Allah without fear of judgment, knowing that His mercy is immediate, His attention constant, and His presence ever near. Tears, words, and silence, all are precious offerings, valid and heard in their sincerity. This awareness cultivates gratitude and mindfulness. The act of turning to Allah, which may once have been automatic or casual, now becomes intentional, deliberate, and cherished. Life itself is reframed as a sacred opportunity, a fleeting span in which closeness, reliance, and love may be freely expressed. The heart that internalizes this privilege learns not to squander it in distraction or routine. Every moment of remembrance, every whispered dua, is a response to the divine generosity of access granted to the living. Spiritual urgency also awakens humility. The believer recognizes that speaking to Allah is not entitlement, but gift, and that with each moment, the opportunity grows more precious. The words of the heart are to be offered consciously, not merely out of habit, for they are the bridge between finite life and eternal presence. Life becomes not a series of interruptions from Allah, but a canvas on which dialogue with the divine can be painted continually. Ultimately, this perspective reshapes the way the servant moves through the world. Every joy, fear, or trial is a prompt to speak to Allah, to reflect, to seek guidance, and to rely wholly on Him. The privilege of direct communion, fleeting yet profound, calls for alertness, sincerity, and gratitude. The door of dua is open today. Let the heart enter freely, for tomorrow it may be closed, and the voice that was once heard in prayer may no longer have such immediacy. Speaking to Allah is a gift, a treasure, and a fleeting opportunity, a reminder to live with awareness, remembrance, and love before the final silence descends. Even the smallest aspects of life are woven with divine support, yet we often overlook this truth. We move through our daily routines, cooking a meal, opening a door, walking down a street, assuming self-sufficiency, forgetting the unseen hand that sustains every movement. Islam teaches that nothing is too small to bring before Allah. Even a request as simple as asking for salt while cooking is worthy of dua, for it acknowledges a profound reality, that strength, ease, and provision flow only by His permission. The Quran reminds us, and rely upon Allah, and sufficient is Allah as disposer of affairs. Surah Al-Ahzab 33:3. Reliance is not limited to matters of life and death, or major decisions alone. Every act, even the most ordinary, is suffused with divine orchestration. The hand that reaches, the mind that remembers, the body that moves, all are under His guidance. By asking for small things, the believer trains the heart to recognize His constant dependence, breaking the illusion that effort alone is sufficient. This awareness transforms ordinary moments into acts of worship. Reaching for salt or water, taking a step, or completing a task, each becomes an opportunity to turn to Allah, to acknowledge that what seems effortless is, in truth, a manifestation of divine care. Asking for what is within reach does not indicate ignorance or weakness. It demonstrates humility, mindfulness, and intimate recognition of Allah's sustaining power. Furthermore, asking even for the smallest matters nurtures a heart attuned to divine presence. It trains the soul to avoid arrogance, reminding the servant that no motion, no thought, no breath occurs independently. Life is a series of interwoven dependencies, and du'a for small things keeps the heart in constant awareness of the giver behind the gift. The believer becomes sensitive to divine mercy in every instant, cultivating gratitude and trust in tandem. This practice also deepens connection. Each request, no matter how minor, is a dialogue with Allah. It is a conscious acknowledgement that sustenance, ease, and ability are not mere accidents of circumstance. The heart begins to see that simplicity is complex, that what seems ordinary is a vast orchestration of divine wisdom. Salt, water, movement, breath. These are threads in a web of care that only Allah sustains. Ultimately, asking Allah for even the smallest things trains the heart to live in humility and dependence. It softens self-reliance, sharpens awareness, and nurtures gratitude. Every whispered request becomes a reminder that life itself is sustained moment by divine will. The believer learns that nothing is trivial when brought before Allah, and that spiritual growth often begins in the smallest of acts. A simple word of supplication, a conscious turn to the one whose provision surrounds and upholds all things. In this light, ordinary life transforms. Daily tasks are no longer mundane. They are invitations to remember, acknowledge, and rely. Even the smallest request carries profound meaning. A quiet acknowledgement that Allah's hand is in everything, and that every moment is a chance to deepen dependence, awareness, and love for the one who sustains all. What we perceive as simple is often the most fragile. Walking, standing, breathing, or lifting a hand feel effortless, so natural that we rarely reflect on them. Yet every action depends entirely on Allah's sustaining power. The ease we take for granted is not inherent in the action itself. It is a gift, a mercy, a moment-by-moment support from the one who governs all things. Remove His grace for even an instant, and what once seemed ordinary becomes impossible. The Quran reminds us, it is Allah who created for you all of that which is on the earth. Surah Al-Baqarah 229. Creation is not only the initial act of bringing things into existence, but the continuous sustaining of them. The seemingly effortless flow of daily life, walking to the kitchen, lifting a cup, opening a door, is miraculous in its dependence on divine facilitation. Ease itself is conditional. Difficulty is never absolute. Even what feels challenging occurs within Allah's control and allowance. Consider the sudden onset of illness, injury, or paralysis. A body that moved freely becomes restrained. A simple act becomes impossible. Such experiences reveal the delicate balance we live within and highlight the dependence that underlies every movement. What felt natural was always a gift. What feels difficult may simply be the temporary withholding of that gift or the testing of our awareness. In this light, human strength is always relative, and reliance on self alone is an illusion. Understanding that ease and difficulty originate from Allah reshapes perception. Life is no longer a series of automated actions, but a continuous interaction with divine provision. Walking, speaking, or even standing becomes an opportunity for gratitude, remembrance, and awareness. The believer begins to see that what appears ordinary is extraordinary in its divine orchestration. Even the smallest actions can become subtle acts of worship when accompanied by acknowledgement of Allah's sustaining mercy. This awareness also cultivates humility. The ease one experiences cannot be claimed as a personal achievement. Strength is not merely a result of effort. It is a trust given, a gift granted. Conversely, difficulty is not punishment. It is a moment to recognize dependency, to seek help from the one whose power upholds all. The heart grows attentive to the constant generosity that allows life to continue moment by moment. Ultimately, recognizing that ease and difficulty are determined by Allah transforms daily life. Ordinary movements become reminders. Small actions become sources of gratitude. And the flow of life itself is experienced as a gift. Every breath, every step, Every motion becomes an opportunity to remember, honor, and rely upon the one whose care underlies all things, seen and unseen. In this awareness, the simplest acts are no longer taken for granted. They are threads of mercy, delicate and profound, connecting the believer to the divine. Life, in its endless rhythm, offers countless moments to turn toward Allah. Before eating, before sleeping, upon waking, while working, or when making decisions, the believer is invited to carry a continuous dialogue with the Creator. This is not merely ritual, it is the cultivation of presence, an unbroken thread connecting the heart to the source of life. The Quran reminds us, "Call upon your Lord humbly and privately. Indeed, he does not like transgressors." Surah Al-Araf 755. Prayer is not only the formal act of worship, it is an invitation to conversation, an open door to share the heart, the mind, and the soul. Yet too often, we forget this privilege. Many turn to others first, friends, advisors, circumstances, before seeking guidance from Allah, as though human counsel could replace divine wisdom. We forget that Allah Himself has opened the door of conversation, accessible in every instant. Speaking to Him is a right, a gift, and a responsibility. The more the heart engages in this dialogue, the more natural it becomes. The more the soul learns to rely on Him before consulting any other source. This constant conversation transforms perception and experience. Small acts, pouring a cup of water, making a decision, walking into a new place, become opportunities to pause, reflect, and speak to Allah. The practice prevents forgetfulness, reminding the believer that life is not autonomous. Every thought, action, and breath flows under divine oversight. Over time, this dialogue ceases to feel like obligation. It becomes a source of comfort, a companion through life's fluctuations, a space to release burdens, express gratitude, or seek clarity. The Prophet exemplified this intimacy with Allah. Even outside formal prayers, he would turn to Allah frequently, asking, seeking guidance, praising, and seeking forgiveness. His life demonstrates that this continuous communication strengthens the heart, softens the soul, and maintains a constant awareness of divine presence. The believer learns to walk through life not in isolation, but in a relationship of trust and dialogue with Allah, finding guidance in His nearness at every turn. When nurtured, this relationship becomes a source of joy. Speaking to Allah ceases to be merely a duty or structured practice. It becomes instinctive, comforting, and sustaining. Decisions are made with inner consultation. Moments of fear are met with whispered reliance. Moments of gratitude are amplified by recognition of His constant presence. The heart that maintains conversation with Allah finds that the divine is never distant, and that guidance, support, and reassurance are always available. Ultimately, a life of continuous dialogue turns every moment into an opportunity for connection. From the mundane to the extraordinary, the believer carries Allah in every thought, word, and act. Prayer becomes both structure and freedom, a rhythm of life that nurtures the soul, strengthens reliance, and transforms ordinary existence into ongoing remembrance. In this presence, speaking to Allah is no longer occasional. It becomes the natural breath of a heart attuned to its Creator. The station of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ stands unparalleled, a summit of spiritual elevation that no created being can fully traverse. The story of Angel Jibril ﷺ provides a glimpse into this unique reality. Jibril, despite his immense creation, immense knowledge, and power, reached a boundary beyond which he could not proceed. When he ascended with the Prophet, he could go only so far, then waited as the Prophet advanced further, alone, into realms unseen by any other being. This extraordinary account reveals a profound truth. The closeness of the Prophet ﷺ to Allah is unmatched, granted solely through divine favor and independent of any created measure of rank or ability. The Quran alludes to this special station indirectly in affirming the Prophet's role as the chosen messenger. Indeed, you, O Muhammad, are of a tremendous moral character. Surah Al-Kalam 68:4. But the story of Jibril's limitation emphasizes that this honor is not simply moral or ethical, it is spiritual, celestial, and relational. The Prophet ﷺ possesses access and proximity that no other creature can claim, a nearness rooted in complete surrender, obedience, and devotion to Allah. His elevation is a reflection of the perfection of his trust, submission, and humility before the divine. For believers, this account teaches both awe and guidance. Awe because it reveals how exalted the Prophet truly is. Guidance because it illuminates the path towards spiritual elevation. The messenger's rank was not achieved through pride, desire, or self-will. It was earned through unwavering devotion to Allah, consistent adherence to divine guidance, and complete alignment of heart, mind, and action with the Creator. Spiritual ascent is not a matter of power or effort alone. It is the discipline of surrender, the refinement of character, and the perfection of intention. The story also humbles the believer. It reminds us that, despite our knowledge, devotion, or worship, there are realms beyond human comprehension. We are called not to measure ourselves against others or to compete for rank, but to cultivate sincere obedience and alignment with Allah's will in our own hearts. The Prophet serves as the exemplar, the guide whose closeness to Allah models what is attainable through complete surrender, while remaining unreachable in degree for any other creation. Finally, this narrative encourages reverence. The Prophet ﷺ is the beloved of Allah, the seal of prophethood, and the one whose guidance illuminates the path to the divine. Humility before his station reminds us to honor the messenger, not only through words but through emulation, obedience, and deep love. In reflecting upon his unique rank, the believer learns that true elevation is inseparable from devotion, surrender, and the cultivation of a heart attuned entirely to Allah's presence. The Prophet is not only the messenger of guidance, but the exemplar of closeness, showing that the heights of spiritual ascension are achieved through alignment with divine will, purity of intention, and complete surrender. His station invites admiration, reverence, and emulation, inspiring believers to pursue sincerity, humility, and devotion as the path toward drawing nearer to Allah. Life, in its ordinary rhythm, holds extraordinary potential. Every step we take, every breath we draw, every simple act, eating, walking, working, resting, can become an act of worship when carried out under the awareness of Allah. Islam is not confined to ritual alone. It is a lived relationship, a constant alignment of the heart, mind, and action with the divine presence. The ordinary becomes sacred, and the mundane becomes a channel of remembrance, devotion, and closeness. The Quran offers guidance for this perspective. Say, indeed my prayer, my rites of sacrifice, my living and my dying are for Allah, Lord of the worlds. Surah Al-An'am 6:162. The verse teaches that even life itself, in its totality, can be consecrated. Every choice, every motion, every utterance carries weight when framed by intention and awareness. Worship, therefore, is not restricted to prayer times or formal observances. It is found in mindfulness of Allah in each moment of existence. Speaking to Allah before action strengthens this alignment. A brief remembrance before eating, a silent supplication before setting out on a journey, or a whisper of gratitude after completing a task. All of these acts harmonize the heart with divine purpose. They remind the believer that no movement, no gesture, no decision occurs in isolation. Even the simplest actions are imbued with potential for devotion when acknowledged as sustained, permitted, and guided by Allah. This consciousness transforms the perception of life. Work is no longer mere labor, it becomes a contribution to creation under Allah's observation. Meals are not simply nourishment, they are blessings to be received with gratitude. Sleep is not mere rest, it is a mercy to be embraced in reflection and trust. Walking, talking, thinking, and deciding all become opportunities to witness Allah's presence, to cultivate mindfulness, and to express submission through ordinary life. The Prophet exemplified this integration of life and worship. His entire existence, from moments of labor to moments of rest, was suffused with awareness of Allah. He taught that sincere intention elevates every action, making it meaningful and spiritually alive. By carrying Allah in the heart, the servant converts the worldly into sacred, the fleeting into eternal, and the routine into remembrance. Ultimately, this understanding frees the believer from compartmentalizing worship. Life itself becomes a continuous act of devotion, a living dhikr, and a manifestation of faith in action. No moment is trivial, no action insignificant, and no day without potential for closeness to Allah. The ordinary, when aligned with awareness, becomes extraordinary, a perpetual bridge between the human and the divine. Every heartbeat, every gesture, every step can echo with worship when the heart remembers. The intention aligns and the soul carries Allah within. In this consciousness, life itself transforms into a seamless, luminous act of devotion. True freedom is not measured by the absence of constraints, nor by the ability to act without accountability. Human beings often equate independence with liberation, assuming that to follow one's own will is to experience autonomy. Yet Islam reveals a profound paradox. The truest freedom is found not in self-rule, but in willing servitude to Allah. It is in aligning the heart, mind, and action with the divine will that the soul discovers its highest liberation, its deepest peace, and its most authentic purpose. The Quran illuminates this truth, and whoever submits his face to Allah while he is a doer of good, he has grasped the most trustworthy handhold. Surah Luqman 31:22. Submission is not defeat, it is a conscious choice to anchor one's existence in what is eternal and perfect. Humanity was granted freedom precisely so that servitude could be chosen willingly, not imposed. This freedom to choose devotion is a gift, and the act of turning one's will toward Allah transforms obedience into a source of empowerment, not limitation. When a person aligns their will with Allah's, they achieve a state of spiritual perfection and integrity. The ego, which often imposes desire and pride, is no longer the master. Instead, the heart becomes a vessel through which divine guidance flows. Freedom is no longer the chaos of unchecked impulse, but the serenity of purposeful surrender. Servitude illuminates the soul, shapes character, and turns ordinary actions into channels of mercy and blessing for others. The Prophet ﷺ exemplified this harmony of freedom and servitude. His choices, speech, and movements were completely aligned with Allah's will, yet he lived with peace, clarity, and dignity. Submission elevated him rather than diminished him. Likewise, believers discover that true power and influence are rooted in surrender, ego relinquished, self-interest tempered, and the heart oriented toward Allah's pleasure. In this state, a human being is transformed from a mere actor in the world into a vessel of divine light, a means through which guidance, mercy, and blessing reach creation. Servitude to Allah, therefore, is not humiliation, weakness, or loss. It is liberation. It is the ultimate expression of choice exercised correctly, the realization of potential that comes when freedom is exercised in alignment with the source of all being. The one who surrenders ego and personal desire experiences the paradoxical joy of sovereignty through obedience, the radiance of humility through submission, and the boundless peace of living in harmony with divine decree. By understanding freedom as servitude, life is reframed. Every action, every decision, every intention becomes an opportunity to exercise this profound liberty. The soul experiences elevation, the heart experiences tranquility, and the believer moves through the world as a luminous vessel of mercy, exemplifying that true freedom is inseparable from devoted, conscious surrender to Allah. O Allah, teach our hearts to turn to you before we turn to creation. Do not let us forget the precious gift of calling upon you. Make us conscious of your presence in every breath, every step, and every movement. Grant us the sweetness of servitude and the true freedom found in surrender. Send peace and blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and keep our hearts forever connected to you, firm in trust and love. Amen. Help us spread this message by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Your support allows us to continue bringing content that inspires reflection, learning, and spiritual growth.